man's rejection truly is God's protection. They might have limited capability given to them by God to not be able to perceive who you are because you're not meant for them. That says a lot more about them than you think it says about you. And a lot of times we want to be accepted and feel accepted by people, places, things that God has no intention for us to be accepted by. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I want to get right into it. Last time we talked about limerence, like romantic obsession. Today I actually wanted to talk about something a little bit different, but maybe they will overlap into each other. So specifically my intention and goal with this video is to help my sisters in Christ overcome rejection, overcome heartbreak. Somebody's lack of ability to perceive your worth and your value is not a direct reflection of your worth and value. So just because they don't see how valuable you are, they don't see how amazing you are, how great you are, or just because they're not validating that for you, does not take away from who you are in Jesus Christ. It does not take away from the fact that the Bible says he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So just because you weren't found by who you wanted to be found by does not mean that God does not have somebody better who will see you as a good thing, who is waiting for you exactly who you are, exactly the way you are. Something that I've come to learn has been a lot of times man's rejection is God's protection. There was a time where rejection to me felt like there must be something wrong with me. And then I would look at the person who rejected me, chose, and ask myself, what is wrong with me? What does she have that I don't have? I just had this epiphany and realization by the grace of God that it's not about that person's disinterest or rejection of me. It's about how I feel about myself. To internalize that and think, okay, well, I am bad. There is something wrong with me. I must be ineffective. I must not be this good thing that I know God has been making me into. We can also talk about the fact that sometimes we're not that good thing yet. Sometimes we're not a wife yet. Sometimes God's still pruning us. He's still preparing us. That doesn't mean that just because somebody doesn't choose you or they choose somebody else that you aren't valuable, that you aren't worthy. Sometimes it means not yet and not then, not ever and no one. So your worth is not dependent on anyone's perception of you, especially not a man. And I know that sometimes when we find a man of God, we're just like so excited, like we're already picturing our wedding, like this is the man for me. And honestly, I'm gonna make another video about how to guard our hearts and have boundaries as women of God, because that is also a really key important step in not getting heartbroken. I think a lot of times we feel like we need a man, especially a man that we respect and a man that we like, someone like that we really could see ourselves with, to come along and validate us, to validate that you are beautiful, you are smart, you do have amazing qualities, you do have wisdom, wife qualities. And I think sometimes a lot of us lack an ability to believe that you are a wife, or that God is preparing you to be a wife without the validation of a man. I am starting to learn that there was a long time in my life where I really craved male validation, and the final boss to me of male validation was a boyfriend, finding one. I wasn't worried about being found, but I was like, I'm gonna get a man, I'm gonna find a man. And then getting married, that was like, okay, that's when I'll know I made it. People will be able to see all these years of me being single, it didn't have anything to do with me. I placed so much on the opinion of men and how they viewed me and how validated I felt by them, that when guys rejected me or pushed me to the side for somebody else, it affected me so deeply, because I truly believe that if this one guy feels like this about me, it must be what everyone is thinking. A lot of guys must feel this about me. Maybe I'm not as beautiful as I thought, maybe I'm not as smart as I thought, maybe I'm not as Christian as I thought. And I began to really struggle with my identity because it wasn't rooted in Christ. It was rooted in men and my opinion of men and their opinion of me. You live by male validation, you'll die by male validation. Live by the sword, die by the sword. Literally, I had made an idol out of not only the validation of men, but specific men whom I was feeling limerence with. That romantic obsession that wasn't love, but it was a fixation. It was idolatry. Their perception of you does not define you. They might have limited capabilities given to them by God to not be able to perceive who you are because you're not meant for them. That says a lot more about them, where they're going, what they're capable of, what God has for them, than you think it says about you. God is protecting you. When a man rejects you, oftentimes than not, God is protecting you. Oftentimes, man's rejection truly is God's protection. And a lot of times we want to be accepted accepted and feel accepted by people, places, things that God has no intention for us to be accepted by. And the sooner we begin to accept that and trust that the things God has for you are good, the happier, more content, more joyful we'll be. I like to think of it like a handbag analogy, and I feel like God places on my heart and I really want to share it. So there are old handbags, there are new handbags, there are vintage handbags, expensive handbags. A lot of times when it comes to vintage handbags, unless you have a trained eye to spot this is a vintage Marc Jacobs bag or an Hermes Constance, they can't differentiate those bags from like a Walmart bag because they don't know. They don't have the expertise in handbags to know the difference between a luxury vintage handbag and just a handbag that probably cost $10 to make. Imagine you have a vintage Marc Jacobs handbag and you are like, I want to get this thing sold, like I'm ready for this bag to be sold, and you have been trying to sell it offline, you can't sell it, no one knows the quality, the worth of this bag. You're trying to tell people like, no, you don't understand, this bag, this is vintage, like this is a vintage handbag, it's worth way more than you think. But people are like, no, they want something new, they want something shiny, they want something sleeker, they want something this, they want something that. And so you decide, okay, well, I'm gonna mark it down, I'm gonna put it for a cheaper price on Depop for like $20. So you put it on Depop for $20. A month goes by, you're not getting any offers, and then somebody offers you $5 for it, way less than even it was already discounted. And so instead of thinking to yourself, you know what, I'm not going to continue to discount this bag, I should have kept it at its original worth and value, because now people think it's even cheaper than it even actually is because I first went low on it. And you ask yourself, should I bring it down to 10? Instead of questioning why somebody would try to even cut the price of something that you were already offering for a cheap price, you ask yourself, maybe you should lower the price even more. You've already discounted the price of the bag, now someone's trying to offer it to you for even less than nothing. And instead of asking yourself, why would this person look at this beautiful bag and think, let me try to get it for even less than it's worth, even though it's already on sale, you question if the bag is even worth what you thought it was worth. The truth is, if you go and ask that bag's designer, they're gonna say, why are you selling the bag that I created to be $1,000 worth for $20? And why trying to sell it for even cheaper than that? That's not what I created this bag to be for. And I especially didn't create it for people who weren't going to appreciate its value. I didn't create a $1,000 valued bag for people that are wanting to pay $5 for it because they don't know its worth, they don't know its value, they don't care. You're the handbag, I'm the handbag. There were so many times in my life where, despite how much God was trying to tell me I was worth to him, that I was a good thing to a man, that he's protecting me, he's hiding me, I wanted to be picked, chosen, and seen so badly that I was marking myself down. I was cheapening myself. I was putting myself in places, spaces, in front of faces that I didn't need to, that God wasn't calling for me to be in front of, because I so badly wanted to be picked. Guess what, guys? Sometimes you're picked, but you're not chosen. Sometimes a guy will pick you, but he's not chosen you. He's not intentional about you. You should wait for a buyer of your $1,000 worth handbag that is like, I've been looking for this bag everywhere. I prayed that I'd find this bag. I begged God to put me in the right place and space so that I could come in contact with this bag. Thank you. A lot of times, a lot of us don't have enough patience to wait for the man that actually wants us, not just a wife, but you. There are some men, they just want a wife, they just want a woman, they just want anyone. And there are some, and there is a man who wants you. However many men out there that are specific about you. You are the girl of their dreams, you are who they've been waiting for, and God knows that. He knows that. There is so much that God knows that we don't know. There's so much foresight that God has that we don't have. There have been times in my life where I've done it my way, and I've been so unhappy at the result of my way. And that's kind of what led me to the conclusion of, if I'm gonna do anything right, I pray it's marriage. I pray that I allow God to dictate that part of my life, that I don't try to do that my way, because I would rather be alone with Jesus Christ for the rest of my life than to be trapped in a marriage that I placed myself in outside of the will of God, just because I wanted to be married and I rushed into it, and the person that I'm with does not love me the way Christ loves the church. So the same way there are different bags made for different things, things. Someone could have that old vintage Marc Jacobs bag and not know what they have. They put it up in their closet. They don't know where to wear it to. They don't know how to style it. They don't see its worth. They don't see its quality. A lot of times we want to be chosen and picked by men that will not help us reach our full potential, that will not push us to the heights and the places that God has for us, that will not lead us in the ways that make us blossom the most. So you are a vintage Marc Jacobs bag and you're trying to be bought by a fisherman who has absolutely no use for a bag like that. He's never gonna fully appreciate it unless he's a fisherman that's really into couture. But you know what I mean? There are different bags for different things. There are different people for different people. We are not gonna be compatible with everyone. In our finite thinking, we think compatibility comes down to probably less things than it actually does come down to. I think compatibility is very intricate, and I think it's something that is spiritual, and I feel like it deeply needs the ordination of God. We need the help of God. There are just some things you're not going to be able to see or spot in a man. There's some vetting that you're not going to be able to completely do without God. So if God is saying you can't have him, listen to him, trust him. He knows things that you don't know. And another thing, men know exactly what they want. Men know exactly what they want. David knew he wanted Rachel. He was gonna work, as long as he needed to work for Rachel, he was gonna have her. In the past, men have fought wars, they have started wars, declared war over women, over the woman that they wanted. Helen of Troy, like all that chaos between those two cities over that one woman. Men have written poetry and Shakespeare and bought islands, painted portraits that were sold for millions, created movies and cinemas and wrote books, because that is how inspired men become by the women that they love and the women that they want. And that is how inspired God is as well by us, his creation. God is so in love with you. God is so in awe of you, in awe of the work of his own hand. He is so sure about you. He is so sure about you. And it really hurts me that there was a point in my life where I was willing to settle for somebody who was not sure about, multiple people who were not sure about me. And I see that with women of God, because there's this desperation to be married. There's this desperation to finally have somebody, to feel wanted, to be picked and to be chosen. And that's why it's so dangerous to not go to God with our desires, to not lay our soul and our heart bare and say, God, I don't know if I'll ever get married. I'm not sure if you've promised me this. I know it's not promised in your word that we'll all get married. You know, for me personally, I don't know if God's promised that. I've not heard him say, my marriage is for you. I know I have the desire in my heart. And for some, maybe that is an indicator of, oh, you know, this is something that God has for you. But for me, I've had to come to terms with the fact that whether I get married or not, I'm gonna love the Lord. I'm gonna serve the Lord. I'm gonna trust in his plan for my life. I'm gonna be obedient to him. I'm gonna walk in my purpose, because he's placed me on this earth for more than just my goals and my desires. It just breaks my heart that a lot of us don't know our worth in Jesus Christ. We don't see how unique and special we are, that there's nobody like you, that you're one of a kind, and that God made you for himself. He didn't make you for a man. He made you for himself. Jesus is the greatest love of our lives. Jesus is the greatest love of our lives. He's gonna love you more than anybody else, your parents, your friends, a man. And until we start to realize that and believe that, we'll constantly be chasing and searching after a fulfillment in our soul that can only come from Jesus himself, that can come from a longing and a love for his word, that comes from prayer and fasting and meditating on the word. And it's unfortunate that a lot of us, you know, we've been raised in a society and a culture that teaches us to pursue, chase, lust after men, and to believe that getting a man, finding a man, having a man is the greatest accomplishment you can have in this life as a woman. It's what actualizes you as a woman, is having a man. Without one, we call ourselves things like a spinster, you know, an old maid, things like that. And I get it, like sometimes it's just all fun and games or jokes, but sometimes a lot of us genuinely think that if I don't end up with someone, if I don't have a man, like that's my life's over. It was not a life well lived. I think that causes us to act in a way that is so desperate, and it sets us up for failure and heartbreak. Because when you begin to be in a position of chasing a man, it's a setup. Men do not like to be chased. They do not want to be chased. They were not designed to be chased. I don't think anyone's designed to be chased, but pursued. But neither should be done woman to man. It's a recipe for disaster. And The right man for you will pursue you in every way. He will not be confused about you. He will not be mistaken about you. He will not be double-minded about you. He will not go back on his word or his promises towards you. He will be sure. He will be intentional. He will be in pursuit of you. He will be prayerful. He will be on his knees before God about you. He will be so loving to you and so kind and just honestly very inspired by you, infatuated with you. And if you don't see that in a man, he's not the one for you. Move on, because he will string you along and drag you along while he continues to figure it out. He's confused. He might still be a boy, not a man. He might still be just not a husband yet. Maybe he's not a husband yet. A confused man is a dangerous man for your heart. A confused man is a very dangerous man for your heart. And I think a lot of times we run away from lustful men. As soon as we see a man has lust, we run. We need to also be running from confused men. We need to run in the opposite direction from confused men, because they'll make you confused. And he's confused about you, and he's going to make you confused about yourself. Am I who I think I am? Am I beautiful? Am I smart? Am I kind? Am I enough? That's dangerous. Those are dangerous thoughts. No man is worth subjecting yourself to the mental torture that is pursuing after him, comparison, insecurity, and a lack of self-love that are all consequences of rejection. So all that to say, bringing it back to my original point, is just because this particular man cannot see, will not see, refuses to see your worth or value, does not say anything about you. It says a lot about him. It says a lot about his capabilities, where he's at mentally, emotionally, spiritually, who he is, and why God doesn't have him for you. The man that's for you will be able to see you. He won't make you feel confused or frustrated or questioning yourself. He'll make you feel good about yourself. He'll make you feel sure about things that you know about, that you already know about yourself. He won't make you question the things that you already know about yourself, that God has helped you to understand and know about yourself. He'll reinforce them. He'll protect those things about you. That is a real man. That is somebody who is ready for a wife. That is somebody who's compatible with you. But I think the first step before you get to the point of having to now realize, wow, his rejection of me, their rejection of me does not say anything about me. Before even getting there, it's a need for boundaries. It's a need for guarding our heart as women, especially single women of God that are out here dating in the crazy world that we live in right now. Christian men are men. We still need to guard our hearts and have boundaries, because sometimes men, they get caught up with their eyes visually. They say things they don't mean sometimes. They're sinful. We're all sinful. We all fall short. And we can't trust ourselves to everyone. We can't entrust ourselves to every man that comes around just because he says he likes you, or he says this, or he says that. There has to be levels and steps to gaining that access to you in your heart. I know for me, I've been waiting for marriage my whole life. I'm 24 now, and I'm still waiting for marriage. So I have been able to guard myself physically from letting a man have access to me. But emotionally, I have been trampled on, stomped on, you name it. And that's because I didn't have good boundaries. And so I definitely want to make a video talking more about boundaries, discussing how to have good boundaries as a woman of God, etc. So I hope this video helped and it wasn't all over the place, but I just want to encourage you and tell you that I'm praying for you, that I've been exactly where you are. I know what it feels like to really like someone, to really feel strongly, and then to have to sit in that feeling of, so it's just not me. It was never me. They don't like me. They don't care about me. They don't feel the way I felt. Was it all in my head? Why her? Why not me? Why is this happening to me? God, how could you let this happen to me? I'm so heartbroken. I'm so hurt. Frustration with yourself, resentment towards them, that feeling of rejection, piling, insecurity, comparison, all of that. I've been there, and I had to separate myself from that person's opinion. I had to remove myself from their version of me and reject that. I had to reject their perception of me and accept God's perception of me, God's truth about me and who I am and who he's created me to be. And that comes from relationship with Jesus Christ. And so a lot of times we are chasing and pursuing after male companionship and a relationship with a man and a boyfriend and a husband. But a lot of times we need relationship with Jesus Christ so we can come to understand who we even are, why we're even here, why any of this matters, why he's placed you where he's placed, what he has for you. And that surety, that surety that comes from him, it won't be able to be shaken by anyone when it's real. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you guys took something away from this, and please let me also know in the comments what other videos I should make. But yeah, there are more videos definitely coming you guys' way, and I'm so excited about this channel, and I've been seeing all you guys' comments, and it's just so sweet. I just want to create a space where we all feel safe to just talk about some of the things that I don't feel like are often talked about in church, which is heartbreak, dealing with heartbreak and dealing with rejection as women of God, because it's very real and it happens all the time, and it sucks and it hurts, and I want us to be able to heal and move on through Jesus. And I know I've come so far, so I know it's so possible to even come where I am, but I also know that I can go even further, and I want to take you guys along with me. So yeah, please like, comment, subscribe, and comment like what videos you guys want to see. But I just enjoy making these videos. I love talking to you guys. But yeah, see you guys next video. Bye.